You want to start?
So, as Tapati said, welcome everyone to the session Creating Accessible PDF Documents Core Strategies by Tapati Sen. If you're joining us online, please place your questions in the Q&A panel rather than the chat panel, as chat will not be moderated. For attendees here in the room, please hold your questions until the end of the session. We'll try to get as many as possible. If we don't get to them, some presenters will join the chat and try to answer questions individually. This presentation will cover key strategies to create and optimize accessible PDF documents, ensuring they meet accessibility standards for diverse users. Please give a warm welcome to our speaker, Tapati Sen.
Welcome, everybody. Good morning. So, ensuring that all students have access to well-designed documents, content, so that students can engage in their learning experiences appropriately and enjoy the learning experience. It's kind of the kind of in our mission, right? It's kind of the core of our mission. So with that said, today we will be focusing on designing PDF documents but that are accessible, but we will start, so we are going to be acting a little proactive and start with the source document, which I would say the Microsoft Word, because Google Docs, I know we all are familiar with Google Docs, and a lot of us use Google Docs because of the shareability of the Google Docs. But um, even though Google Docs has some features, accessibility features, and you can make a Google Doc also accessible for screen readers to read them and make it, you can make those accessible. But the final PDF document, that the accessibility features don't uh, carry over to the PDF document so well in when you are converting a Google Doc into a PDF. Whereas with Microsoft Word, those features carry over very nicely. So that's why we will be focusing on creating accessible Microsoft Word documents today. And so we'll identify some key features that enhances accessibility in PDF documents. We learn some basic accessibility techniques to ensure Word docs are structured for diverse users. And then we'll evaluate the accessibility of a PDF document. So those are kind of our objectives in a short period. We have like 20 minutes. I'm going to go really fast. So why accessibility? We all know, right? Accessibility ensures all users, including those with disabilities, can access and interact with the content. And then we have this compliance thing that we have to meet the legal requirements, like the accessibilities with the the what is it? Americans with Disability Act, ADA, Section 508, and we have we have a new deadline coming up, which is not very soon, but it is coming up. 24th April 2026 is when we have to meet that deadline. So we have to kind of act really responsibly, collaboratively, and start creating these accessible documents and learn how to create them. So what are some key features in PDFs? First of all, for a screen reader, it needs to have a document for the person who's using the screen reader to have a really good experience reading the document. The reading order is important. The document structure, where the headings are kind of in sequence. Then there are the fonts that can be extracted by the screen reader, because the screen reader needs to extract those fonts and unique, the coding and all that. For that, it needs fonts that can be extracted. All text for images, important. navigational aids such as maybe a table of contents. If it's a really large document, a table of contents would be really helpful, bookmarking and things like that. Even the links, appropriate links. I mean, the screen reader will read whatever is in the document, but for the document to be nice to read, have a good experience reading the document, we need to make it more accessible. Then the document language, there are settings for setting up the language. So if the document is in a different language, the screen reader can then kind of adapt to that. And then there are some security settings. So most of what we will do is in the Word, and that will carry over very nicely into the PDF. So in order to make the Word document accessible, again, we'll go through all the accessible features, and then we can check for accessibility. The Word has an accessibility checker, but it doesn't really detect all the features. It'll miss quite a few. So you have to be very mindful when you're creating your Word document that you are not just solely depending on the accessibility checker of Word, but knowing that these are the features that I should have in my document for the document to be finally accessible. So I have a folder which is in the Google Drive, and it has some sample documents. It has a practice document. Uh, you can scan the QR code to get access to it. And then if you are trying to follow along with me, I would recommend that you download those because it's in a Google folder and you want to use it as a Word file. So download it and open it in Word. So that's the QR code if you want to follow along. So what I am going to do actually is I am going to get into that document so that we can work in the document together. So here's actually, so it's kind of trying to make a document like this accessible. So it's just a very simple, short, one-page document, and it has this image, right? So we want to make the image accessible, and then it has some headings, uh, heading levels, heading 1, heading 2, and then there's a link, which we want to make the link accessible, and then it has some lists. We want to make those accessible, and then there's a table, and we want to make the table accessible too. And in addition to that, there are other things like, you're using a sans serif font, which is, easy to extract. So this is using Arial font. The font is looking good. And then the spacing. So for a document to be accessible, the spacing is like 1.5. I know we don't usually do that, but that's kind of the minimum spacing. So you want to make sure the spacing is appropriate. And then the other thing is that you don't want to have any extra spacing. So if you take your down arrow and keep clicking, it should land on a line. There shouldn't be any manual lines added. So all that is looking good in this document. So in order to make the alt text accessible, we have this home in the home tab. Sorry, not the home tab. So for alt text, when you click on a picture, so the practice exercise over here, if you're following along, if you click on the logo of the Arizona State University, you will see the picture format tool come up. And in the picture format tool, I have all these zoom buttons hovering. Give me a minute to just bring it down a little. So the picture format, when you click on the picture format, you will see this alt text. So you can click on the alt text and add the, a good descriptive logo, description for the logo. So a logo of ASU, or you can also, spell out the Arizona State University. So it's not, it's a nice descriptive um, kind of what do you call it, a caption for the image, which the reader will read out. You don't necessarily have to mention an image because the screen reader kind of mentions that it's an image, and then it reads out the description. So a nice, like a descriptive, not very long, but that appropriately kind of talks about what's there. And if it's meaningful, if it's not something meaningful, you've just used it for decorative purposes, you can just mark it as decorative. So that option is also there. So that's for alt text. And then for headings, you want to make sure you're using the styles, which is in the home tab. So you say, for example, over here in this practice, they're asking us to change this into a heading 2. So you just go into the styles and you pick heading 2, and that makes your heading into whatever style. So we are using the style. We are not just, making these headings just by bolding it or by, changing the color and things like that, or highlighting it. We are not doing that. We are using these style guide to kind of do the headings. So there are different kinds of headings over here. You have for emphasis, you have something for emphasis, for if you want to do a quote, for an intense quote. So all different kinds. So make sure you use these, and then make sure your headings are sequential. So if this one is heading 1. Now, another thing is that don't use title for the the title of the document, because it kind of confuses it when you transfer it into or carry it over into the PDF. It kind of doesn't really recognize that as the heading 1 or the heading for the document. It thinks it's like the title of the whole document, like the document property kind of thing. So I always try to put that, the top level heading as heading 1, and then this is my heading 2, and this is my heading 3. And you can always format the headings the way you want. And then what you do is, so this is my heading 3, and if you right click on this, you, oops, if you right click on it, if I can, you can update the heading to match the selection. So you can change the formatting and then update it over there. So you can design it the way you want and then update it there. So the basic thing is that we are using those styles. Next is links. The links, again, you want to not just add a URL, because the screen reader will read that whole URL, and sometimes the URLs are so big, it'll read the numbers and the letters and the characters and everything. So that's not a good experience for the screen reader user. So what you want to do is put a meaningful kind of a uh, uh, text to display, and then link that. So like over here, it's asking me to link this introduction to physics to a URL, to a website. And so what you will do is you'll just highlight it, select it, and then insert. So it's insert tab. There's this link. When you click on the link, it brings up this floating window where you can add the address, or you can also link it to an existing file. So that's how you do the links. For the lists, again, there's in the home tab, you have the lists, whether it's a numbered list or an unnumbered list. So if you want to make these bulleted, then you can highlight it, and click on bullets, and it will make the bullets for you. For the tables, there is a few things that you can do. So you can, so the main thing with tables is that you need it to have a header. So that's very important. That's the most important part of tables is you need to have a header. If you have the first column, that's also important. And as a header, you want to also select that as the header. And that way the screen reader will read it like with each line in your table, it'll say first week one, topic course introduction, reading assignment chapter one. So it reads it very nicely for the user. And if it is, if the table is continuing in the next page, you can see that the next page doesn't have the header. So we want to make sure to make this table accessible. You can click on the header row, and then you can, in the table design, make sure the header row is checked. If there's a, the first column is also matters, then you can have those checked. The others doesn't matter so much. I mean, checked or unchecked doesn't matter, but make sure the header row is checked. And then the other thing is that you want to also go into the table properties. So in this top word ribbon, if you go under table, there's the table properties. If you pull up the table properties in the row tab, there is this repeat as header row at the top of each page. So you want to select that. Don't select this, allowing row to break across pages. Don't need that. Then you can add a alt text to the table. So give it a nice title, and you can describe what is in the table, and that'll make your table accessible. So with that, you see how now my second page, the table that continues in the second page has a header. So that makes it easy for the screen reader to read. Additional accessibility features, the font, make sure you have the right font. The minimum font for a Word document would be like 12 points, so make sure your minimum font is 12, and then the headings can just, be keep going higher up. For PowerPoints, it's kind of 22 points, so a little bigger because it's PowerPoint, and it's, you know, displays big, so for the color, now you want to make sure the color contrast is good. So like this one is the maroon background with the white text. Now you want to check that this is kind of, accessible. So for that, you can use the WebAIM contrast checker, which, is really convenient, and because it has a color picker. You can use the color picker and just pick the color and put it there for the foreground. For the background, you can pick the colors, and it'll tell you the contrast ratio, and then it'll tell you whether it passes. We are looking at WCAG AA. So if it passes that, we are good. For large text, it passes, and for small text also it passes. So the minimum is 4.5 to 1 contrast ratio for the smaller text. So you want to, you can access this. You will get the slide decks after the thing. So you will have the links there in the slide deck. And then you'll have access to, there's links to this folder with all these documents. You can, so you'll have the links. The line spacing we talked about, and then the text, make sure the text is left aligned. So you don't want the text justified, because that puts in a lot of unnecessary spaces in the sentences, and you don't want that. So then once you have done that, you would then, you can use the accessibility checker, the Microsoft's Word's accessibility checker, which you would go under review and check for accessibility. And over here on the at the bottom of the document, also if it passes, it'll tell you that accessibility is good to go. And then over here also on the right, there's a panel, no accessibility issues found. People with disabilities should not have difficulty reading this document. So it gives you all that, and so it basically tells you you're good to go. And then once it's good to go, then you want to convert it to a PDF, which you would then go to File and Save As, and then you can, over here in the file format. So this is kind of the right way of converting it. And then you have to make sure you check this one, this button, best for electronic distribution and accessibility, and then export it. So once you export it, then you have this nice PDF, which you can see that it does not really, it has only two issues, which is logical reading order needs manual check. So you want to manually check that it's in order, and then the color contrast needs a manual check. Rest of it does not have any issues. So it really nicely carries over into, so you can just, open the tag. If you have the Acrobat Pro, that is, so you can do all this if you have the Acrobat Pro, if you have the cloud, Adobe Creative Cloud. The Adobe Creative Cloud has the Pro version. So you can use over here in the All Tools, you'll see Prepare for Accessibility. If you don't see it, just click the More button and it'll bring it up, and then you will be able to use these. So the tags, thank you. The tags, you can just make sure the document is in order and good to go. And then the other thing that you can do is in the document properties, you can add a description with the title, author, and all that. In the security, make sure the no security is checked so that the screen readers can have access to the PDF. And then what else? And then in the language, in the advanced tab, you have the language, which you want to, if it's English, French, whatever, you want to check that. I mean, if it's not, so that's just checking. Most of it carries over, and I think the no security, if the screen reader is kind of a trusted one, then PDF kind of overrides, even if it's restricted in your PDF document. So that's kind of it. And then you will have a good accessible document. So um, you know, all you really have to do is get started. And I believe these documents will help you with with getting started. If you, I mean, I'm sure many of you are already doing some of this. Um, so the slide deck doesn't have a lot of steps for the things that I went over in the document, but the document will walk you through and you can practice using those documents. There are some other resources in the slide deck. The Word accessibility tools, the PDF accessibility, how you can make your PDFs accessible, how you can make your Word accessible, and then there's the WebM contrast checker link. So yeah, that's it. And hope you can get started with making accessible documents. Thank you so much. Any question? Yes.
Hi, thanks. I'm Alex Kadis. I'm an instructional designer with EdPlus, and I constantly deal with making PDFs accessible. And my biggest challenge is when I work in Word is harnessing that headings style pain, which to me is a total minefield. I've tried to master it so many times, and I always just hit brick walls. So I'm wondering, is there a way that somebody can import headings styles for something like a syllabus, like exactly what you had as those headings were set up with the colors and the fonts and the size? Can faculty just get that style and say to the Word document, I want to implement this particular style, so they don't have to be figuring it out on their
on
own?
their
Yeah.
hmm. You- Somebody has an answer.
I'll send it to the person who's going to answer.
My recommendation was, and maybe it's the same as yours, is you can actually create a template. And for example, I do technical writing, and so I'm constantly building out branded stuff. So what I will do is I will create a template, and you can save that, and then you could just open that up ad nauseum and just constantly save it as your own document, and it'll bring over all those styles once you've actually got that set up.
I think there is also a way, I can't remember what it is, but you open both the style that you want in a document, and then you can transfer it into the other, but then you also have to then apply those to the new, so they'll show up. So a heading one will show up like, and you can name them also. That can also help you to keep track of things, but yeah, templates, and then you can also, I'm pretty sure you can copy also. It's been a while.
We have one question.
Penn State has an accessibility and usability website that contains multiple ways to transfer styles from templates to documents. I can put the link to that in the chat.
Thank you. We have one more question from Zoom. Are these features and tools available on the web version of Word or just the desktop version?
I would say the desktop version is better.
Okay, so
Yeah.
the answer to that was the desktop version is better.
We had another Zoom question come in. If we've received a PDF, is there a way to make the PDF accessible without converting to Word and converting back?
Yes, so there is. I mean, that would be like remediating your PDFs, but you would need the Adobe Acrobat Pro for that. And you can use all the tools, which obviously we didn't do today, but yes, there is a way of remediating your PDFs to make it more accessible, and that's a separate seminar, I guess, how to remediate PDF. But yes, it can be done.
I just want to say thank you for tackling such a hard challenge in a 20-minute session. Good job.
Thank you for your help.
Any last minute questions before we thank? Oh,
Sorry. I just want to confirm something about the Google Docs that you had said, that, the Google Docs, if you create one, even with headings, and you convert it to a Word doc or a PDF, the heading styles and structure does not carry over. I'm in shock.
You know what?
Well, because I think people use Google Docs so
Oh, you're
often.
shocked.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And I don't know when they are going to do that. I mean, they should. So actually,
So only when it remains in the Google Doc format will the
see, I can show you.
accessibility.
See how many
there.
issues it has. It's like 4 document issues. It's got page content issues. It's got alternate text. I mean, it was an accessible document when it was in Google Doc, but when I carried it over or converted into a PDF, it failed everything. So yeah, yeah. And considering so many people use Google Docs, it would be really nice. But then if you have a Google Doc, you can always actually first download it and into a Word, and then convert the Word into. So that's So work around.
Thank you. And we're at time. So thank you, Tapati. If we want to give her another round of applause, please do.
Thank you, everybody. It was great having y'all.
We'll begin the next session. Let's talk text, designing accessible reading experiences in just a few minutes. Please join us here again in the Ventana room at the Tempe MU or virtually on Zoom. Thank you, everyone.